Thank you for staying tuned. Let's talk phase 3 of the Akwa Ibom Free Food Program. A clear indication that the state government sees value in extending it. While many beneficiaries welcome the relief, the critics are asking whether food handouts alone can address deeper issues of hunger, food production, and agricultural security. Is this a bridge to lasting solutions or just a stopgap measure in tough times? We have joining us live Director Center for Human Rights and Accountability Network, CHRAN, Otekong Franklin Isong. You're welcome to the program, Otekong. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning and good afternoon. It's a terrific Tuesday, right?
It is.
Yeah. Welcome to
all of us.
Been a while. I've not been here.
Well,
You're looking so glamorous and like from here you're going for a dinner party or something.
I should. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. You guys are doing very well.
Thank you.
Well, we're looking at the phase 3 of the food distribution program by the governor of Akwa Ibom State, Pastor Moino, and we've seen that in the previous phases, it was faced with some level of criticism and some commendations. And this recent one, which is tagged the phase 3 of the distribution program, I'd like to first get your overview of the food program. You think this is a time we should be accepting a food program, or this has gone in somewhat way been helpful to the people?
Well, there has never been a best time than now, being that Nigerians are facing hard time. We are having a lot of insecurity issues that have affected farmers. Even when they plant their crops, you have the bandits don't allow them to go back to the farm to harvest. Even when they are able to go to harvest, you will see that the cattle herdsmen would have entered and used their cattle to destroy the farm crops. And so, coupled with the fact that we have steady rainfalls that have, washed away some part of the lands, and we are having issues of flooding. So I think the government of Akwa Ibom State has thought it wise, being that the state has been marked by, I think, NEMET to be among the states that are going to be experiencing a heavy flooding. And of course, we've had that in some of the rural communities. And most of these rural communities their main stay is farming and agriculture. And so the only way the government can actually contribute to uplifting humanity and to uplift the well-being of the citizens of the state is to also support by, giving food items. And that is why when the governor came on board, he established what is called the bulk purchase agency. And the agency is, is charged with the duty of distributing food items, and the names of the beneficiaries are gotten from, I think, from the social register, SOKU, that has been drawn long before the government came on board. And so the agency has been doing that. Before now, when the president, Bola Tinubu, came on board, he removed the fuel subsidy, and we had issues of crisis in the country. Part of what the president also, promised was palliative. And then at the state level, we had the State Palliative Committee, which the state governor, Pastor Moino, constituted, and I happened to be in the committee to represent the civil society groups in Akwa Ibom State. And the committee has been working to ensure that we make food items available to the people of the state. So for me, the phase 3 of the food distribution is apt because of these issues I've just listed.
Okay, but then what exactly does the food distribution program entail?
It's just about taking raw items like rice and beans and possibly gari to the rural areas and distribute it to the local government in this case. Because when the State Palliative Committee, which I happen to be a member, handled the distribution, we normally distribute it at village level. I recall the governor had said we wanted to distribute less than some number. The governor insisted that we should make it more than what we wanted to do, and it should be per village. But for this time around, from the itinerary that I have received, it shows that it will be distributed based on local government basis. So you have and it will be handled by the Ministry of the Humanitarian Affairs, a new ministry created by the governor, chaired by Honorable Mrs. Ibaha. So they are going to take these items, rice. I think from the figures I got, they will be using 3,000 bags of garri and rice, and they will go to each local government, commencing from Oron, Hore from Oroko, to Orogonam, and the rest. I will give you an itinerary of how it's going to be. So for me, the distribution of food items is such that it will also help to add to, and is targeted at the poorest of the poor. It's not for people who can afford. Like I have said before, the list of beneficiaries were already drawn from the SOCU, social register, that was done by World Bank. So it's not that the state government draw a list and begin to distribute to those places. No. So the poorest of the poor, there are lists already drawn for that purpose, and that is the list that will be used for this distribution. But it's going to be given by a local government basis.
What was the reason of this change? Earlier you had said that before now the distribution basis was to villages, and now it's local government and the humanitarian ministry is supposed to take charge of that. What led to the changes? Is it that discrepancies were noticed in the sharing, or there are issues that were spotted?
No, what happened was that when the State Palliative Committee was in charge of the distribution, that was immediately we had the protest by Nigerians that erupted after the president withdrew the fuel subsidy. So there was no ministry to handle that, to handle the distribution. So we handled it, and the governor was particularly involved in the process. The kick-off was even in the governor's village. You call it the flag off of the distribution by the State Palliative Committee. And so the governor insisted, and we had, the federal government also gave some support, some bags of rice to the state. It wasn't only the state government that was, funding it. The federal government also assisted. Now, the committee decided that it should be per village. And then the governor said, yes, but governor now had to increase the figure that was distributed per village. But now we now have a ministry responsible for it. So they have now sat down and said they now want to handle it, because going around the villages will take almost like 3 months. So what the agency will do is know how many village we have, and then bundle their own figure, which is 3,000, and give it to the local government chairman, who will now invite the various village heads to come over and sign and get their own share for their villages. So it's still the same thing, because it's going to be given per village, but it's going to be given in bulk to the local government to help distribute to these villages.
We know that palliatives, it's a measure that is supposed to be temporary to cushion the effects of hunger and the bite of the economy on a temporary basis. But then the question is, and some critics are indeed asking, how long and how sustainable are these palliative measures that have been instituted and put in place by the governor, Pastor Umoino? We're talking about phase 3 now, meaning there was phase 1 and phase 2. Is it a continuous practice, a process that will continue, or are we going to have an end to it? And is it sustainable?
Well, in as much as we have a government in place, and the duty of every government, based on our constitutional section 14 of our constitution, is very clear that the government is to provide welfare and security. What you are saying now is a welfarist, approach. The government is also, which is also security. But where there is no welfare, where the people are hungry, it will raise social, issues, and that will raise insecurity in the state. So there is no limit, there is no extent to giving palliative, which of course you have rightly mentioned is temporary measures. And why the government is doing this is also planning on the permanent measure, which is why the government is encouraging farmers, and also building, farmland and industry that's also going to cater for, the people's welfare, including employment of the youth, creating employment. Over, I think, 3,000 persons will be employed into civil service. These are all permanent measures that will also help to ameliorate the suffering. So, yes, there is not going to be an end to food distribution, because it is part of the social duty of a government. Government shouldn't just be building skyscrapers and the people are going, with empty stomach. you will raise insecurity in the state. So the government is supposed to handle the issue of welfare, handle the issue of security, and then put in place social infrastructures that will also cater for the needs of the people in the other areas. So for me, there is no end, there is no time, there is no limit to government providing palliative to the citizens.
Well, as you've rightly mentioned, that the employment cadre is for the unemployed youth and different segments, and you mentioned that the food program is strictly for the poorest of the poor. There's always been that back and forth on the definition for the poorest of the poor. Can we have a clear mark understanding of who the poorest of the poor is in this regard?
Well, in my own understanding of the word poorest of the poor, before we used to hear 101.
Okay.
101. You know what I mean? Someone who can eat maybe breakfast and cannot afford the lunch and can afford the dinner.
Which is the 001.
001. And then you have the the 110.
Zero.
Or who can eat the breakfast, can eat lunch and cannot afford the dinner. And you have the 001. Or who cannot eat the breakfast and can't eat the lunch and can afford the dinner. And you now have the 000, one who is completely unable to eat his breakfast, to afford for his lunch, to afford for his dinner. So that such a person look up to some other person to assist. In my own understanding now, the 100 or the 001 or the 000 falls in the same cadre of the poorest of the poor. Because the one who is able to eat once a day and not able to eat these other ones will become malnourished. Right? Will definitely take ill and become malnourished. But the one who is able to eat at least 2 square meals can be able, can make it, can be able to, regain himself, and is above the poorest of the poor. There are those who only sip Gary for a day, just sip Gary. There are those who don't sip, who don't even have the Gary to sip, and they go on the street begging. And there are those who cannot even walk, who are ill by virtue of sickness, and they are just the aged ones who don't have anyone to care for them. Those ones are also the poorest of the poor. So there is no how you can define it. Those ones who are unable to take care of themselves have become the poorest of the poor.
Well, Otuekong, what would you now say about people who still find a way to put their names in that list that is in existence, and yet they don't fall under this category that you have mentioned? Is the government doing anything towards ensuring that it actually confirms if the persons it is handing these reliefs to are actually under this category, because it could still not meet or reach the persons that they are intended for?
That is why the CSOs like us and others are involved in the process of this distribution to ensure that the targeted audience actually get to receive these items. When we are not there to police it, to watch the process, to ensure that accountability is maintained, then you could have what you're saying.
So far,
you
have you witnessed
us,
any skirmishes?
Just about commencing tomorrow. It's commencing tomorrow.
The past phases, if you were to borrow from the past
so far, there has not been complaints. So far, like I told you, the one we've had, the one I was part of the committee handling it, there was no complaint, because we ensure that every village head will come to receive his item, sign it with the youth leader and woman leader. And so when you have diversion, when they call us to complain, we have to resort back to the register to check who signed for that particular community, and the person can easily be traced. So when you handle it that way, and you involve independent NGOs like us, who are not doing the government human's job, you could see that the real audience will get to receive the items, and there will be no complaint. Because when the complaint arises, we're the ones that will take it up with the relevant agency to actually check if it was actually the complaint that has been given actually meant to be called complaint, or just like or maybe it is a frame up or a blackmail. Because definitely you have people who are going to come up and say, hey, it didn't get to reach us. Hey, it didn't get, because people expect that it should be enough, more than enough. But government is not a Father Christmas, in my own opinion. Government can only do what government can do. I'm not here to hold brief for the government. They can do what they can only do. But creating enabling environment will always be the best way out. Making sure that the people have the farmers are able to enter their farmland and farm. You have the anti-open grazing law enforced, that when you see any cattle entering the farmlands, the cattle are impounded, the headers are apprehended, fines are being paid, and then you tackle the issue of flood. The governor has the, I think, SSA on climate change. You should also be able to, relate with the governor to know where we have issues of flooding and then tackle it. You have erosion in the community, the government will go in and handle it. And then you handle the issue of insecurity and give us good road network. Farmers who are farming in the interior areas can bring their food to the town and sell and make gains and go back. And you will see that you will have more than enough. But where you are, where the government is not doing all of this or any of this and believe in giving palliative, then the government will, make the whole people of the state to look up to government. And whatever government gives can never be enough to go round. Okay,
Otuekong, we also like to understand if there has been measures put in place to ensure accountability, because this has to do with the people at the grassroots level. And so many times there are complaints of that nature, that these items are siphoned or people withhold these items from getting to the persons it should get. Are there measures you think has been put in place to ensure accountability?
Well, the CSOs, CHRAN and other CSOs are engaging the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs because it's a new ministry. We are talking with the commissioner to ensure that we are brought into the picture so that we can also be able to assist to ensure that we don't have issues of diversion and issues of compromise and issues of political patronage where the items are given to people who are basically political party members as against what you have in the social register, and where the items are not being used as as a largesse from a party as against the other persons who are not in the other party, and where the items are not also being used as a campaign tool in favor of anyone. So the items shouldn't be used in any of those areas. That is why we are engaging with the ministry, and the commissioner is open to engage with us because we will be able to assist her to succeed. That office, the office of the humanitarian affairs, is very large. You recall what happened to someone who was the minister of that particular office in Abuja. It's not what happened to her. So you need to open up and allow for people who are interested, who are people-oriented, who are the civil society to engage you as an agency to get it right. Otherwise, you will be dragged and complaints will come and possibly you could be distracted.
All right. Otuekong Franklin Isong, Director, Center for Human Rights and Accountability Network. We'll be counting on organizations like yours as we also do our bit towards ensuring that this process is executed seamlessly. Thank you for speaking with us in Niger Delta today.
My pleasure, always.
We appreciate your time. Thank you.
All right, we'll take a breather, and when we return, we'll turn our sights on the by-elections that's just been concluded in Edo State and the eventual results and outcomes. Do stay tuned.
The overall function of the parliament is adequate representation of their constituents in state echoes to federation.
Removal of fuel subsidy, resources to critical sectors,